Elon Musk is one of the most fascinating people alive today. He's the billionaire behind Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and several other groundbreaking companies that are literally shaping the future of humanity. Some see him as a genius, others see him as controversial. But no matter what side you're on, one thing is undeniable. Musk thinks differently from almost everyone else. This ability to think differently is the main reason he has been able to build multi-billion-dollar companies in industries where most people thought success was impossible. Electric cars, people laughed. Reusable rockets, they said it couldn't be done. A colony on Mars, they still doubt him. And yet, Musk keeps proving that by thinking in a unique way, you can achieve what others believe is impossible. Now here's the interesting part. You don't have to be Elon Musk to start thinking like him. You don't need billions in the bank or a lab full of rocket scientists. What you do need is the ability to ask yourself the right questions, the kind of questions that force your mind to see the world differently. In this lesson, we'll break down 3 powerful questions you can ask yourself, questions that Elon Musk himself has used to unlock billionaire thinking, improve your decision-making, and set yourself on a path toward massive success. The first question is, what is the fundamental truth here? One of Musk's most famous ways of thinking is what he calls first principles thinking. Instead of looking at what everyone else is doing and simply copying them, he strips an idea down to its most basic truths and then builds his solutions from there. Think about how most people approach problems. They look at what already exists, they follow the rules, and they accept limitations. Musk doesn't do that. He asks, what is the fundamental truth here? For example, when he wanted to build rockets, most people told him it was impossible because rockets were too expensive. At the time, NASA and private companies were spending tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions, for a single rocket launch. The traditional thinking was, this is just how it is. Rockets are expensive. We can't change that. But Musk broke the problem down into first principles. He asked himself, what is a rocket made of? What are the raw materials? How much do steel, aluminum, and fuel actually cost? When he did the math, he realized something shocking. The actual raw materials only cost a tiny fraction of the price of the rockets being sold. The high cost was not inevitable. It was a result of inefficiency in the way rockets were being built. So instead of accepting the old truth that rockets had to be expensive, Musk worked from the ground up and designed his own. Today, SpaceX rockets are not only cheaper than anyone thought possible, but they're also reusable, something experts once said could never happen. The lesson for you is simple. Whenever you face a challenge, don't just accept what others tell you. Don't copy existing methods blindly. Instead, ask, what is the fundamental truth here? What do I know for certain? Then, rebuild your solution from the ground up. This simple shift can help you break free from limitations in business, relationships, or even personal growth. The second question is, what would this look like if it were 10 times better? Another powerful question Musk asks himself is, what would this look like if it were 10 times better? Most people think in small steps. They ask, how can I make this a little cheaper, a little faster, a little easier? Musk doesn't think in a little. He thinks in leaps. Take Tesla, for example. Before Musk got involved, electric cars had a terrible reputation. They were slow, ugly, and couldn't drive very far before the battery died. Most car companies believed electric cars would always be a small niche. But Musk didn't accept that. He asked, what would it take for electric cars to be 10 times better? He imagined cars that were not only eco-friendly but also sleek, powerful, and capable of traveling hundreds of miles on a single charge. He wanted electric cars that weren't just good for the environment, but cars people would dream of owning. That question led to the Tesla Roadster, then the Model S, and eventually a whole revolution in the auto industry. Today, every major car manufacturer in the world is trying to catch up with Tesla. The lesson here is that most people limit themselves by aiming too small. They try to improve things by 5% or 10%. But if you ask yourself, what would this look like if it were 10 times better, you force your brain to think beyond limitations. This is how breakthroughs happen, not by tweaking, but by reimagining the entire picture. The third question is, if failure were not an option, what would I try? The third question Musk constantly challenges himself with is about fear. Fear of failure is the #1 reason most people never chase big ideas. They're too afraid of losing money, of looking stupid, or of wasting their time. But Musk flips the script. He asks himself, if failure were not an option, what would I try? When Musk started SpaceX, he knew the chances of success were very small. He once admitted that he thought there was only about a 10% chance the company would succeed. Yet he went ahead anyway. Why? Because he imagined a world where failure was not an option. And here's the thing. Musk did fail, several times. The first 3 SpaceX rockets exploded. The A company almost went bankrupt. But because he was willing to try anyway, because he dared to imagine success in a world where others saw only failure, he kept going. On the 4th attempt, the rocket worked. That single success saved SpaceX and eventually led to billions of dollars in contracts with NASA. The lesson for you is this: don't let fear decide your future. Most people live small lives because they're too scared of failing. But if you start asking yourself, if failure were not an option, what would I try? You'll begin to see opportunities you never considered before. Let's put it all together. Musk's way of thinking can be summed up in 3 powerful questions. What is the fundamental truth here? What would this look like if it were 10 times better? If failure were not an option, what would I try? If you practice asking yourself these questions daily, you'll start training your mind to think like a billionaire, not just in terms of money, but in terms of creativity, courage, and vision. These questions are powerful because they reprogram how your brain approaches problems. The first question teaches you to see reality clearly without being blinded by assumptions. The second question forces you to think big, not small. The third question pushes you to act bravely, not fearfully. Most people never ask themselves these kinds of questions. That's why they stay stuck in average thinking, average decisions, and average results. Musk's success shows us that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary often comes down to the questions you ask yourself every day. It's also important to remember that Musk doesn't just think like a billionaire in terms of money. His vision is much bigger than wealth. For him, money is just a tool. What really drives him is a mission: to transition the world to sustainable energy, to make humanity a multi-planetary species, and to push the boundaries of what technology can do for the human mind. This is another lesson we can all learn. Thinking like a billionaire isn't just about stacking cash. It's about having a vision so big that it excites you, scares you, and pushes you to do more than you thought possible. So, as you start asking these 3 questions, also ask yourself, what is my bigger vision? What impact do I want to leave on the world? Here's how you can start using Musk's billionaire mindset in your daily life. Pick one challenge you're facing right now. Maybe it's a business idea, a career, decision, or even a personal goal. Ask the 3 questions in order. What is the fundamental truth here? What would this look like if it were 10 times better? And if failure were not an option, what would I try? Write down your answers. Don't just think about them. Put them on paper. Writing forces clarity. Then take one bold step. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take one small but bold action immediately. Repeat this daily. The more you ask these questions, the more natural billionaire thinking will become. Elon Musk's success is not just about money, technology, or luck. It's about mindset. It's about asking the kinds of questions that push your brain beyond the ordinary and into the extraordinary. So next time you're facing a challenge, Remember these three questions. What is the fundamental truth here? What would this look like if it were 10 times better? And if failure were not an option, what would I try? If you start living by these, you may not become Elon Musk, but you will begin to think like a billionaire. And when you change your thinking, your entire future can change with it.